everyone. Good afternoon and welcome to this episode of ThinkTank Thursday. I am Candy Kelly and I am excited to be your host for this week. Thank you for taking the time to join us. Before we jump in to this week's interview, I have to give some love to my 2023 Think Tank sponsors, Stimnox, Redemption Plus, Roller, Betson, and Delta Strike. I'm so excited that they have agreed to sponsor Think Tank so I can continue to bring these episodes to you each and every week. And we've already featured Roller on a few episodes. I have coming up schedules for Stimnox and Redemption Plus and Betson and Delta Strike. So stay tuned. You'll see them as guests on Think Tank Thursday soon as well. On Thursdays, Trainertainment likes to take a little bit of time away from the doing and all the task lists that we have and spend a bit of time thinking about our business. And we are spending that time thinking about our arcade this week with Shaffer Distributing. Adam Kleinhenz from Shaffer Distributing is joining us. He is a wonderful guest, and you'll learn lots about some things you should consider when you're looking at either reinvesting into your arcade room or creating a new one. So let's jump in. Adam, how are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
Great. For those in our audience who may not know who you are, take a few minutes and tell us a little bit about your background in the industry and then how you came to your current role with Shaffer.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I grew up in the industry. I was 14 years old, started as a busboy in a local restaurant. I went to college, got a degree in hospitality management, got out of college, went working with restaurants right away. And about 8 years into the restaurant business, I was like, this is kind of boring. Like I need some more challenges. And I ended up going to go work for a company called Sega GameWorks, very similar to like a Dave & Buster's type concept. And so that really brought the arcade piece of it to me. And then I was with them for a few years, and then I moved to a management company. I worked for them for almost 15 years, and I was a regional vice president of operations. So I was the guy that would go into family entertainment centers and open them for an owner, and then turn it off to the ownership teams or the management teams. And so I did that for 15 years. And I, at the time, had two small kids. Now they're growing like weeds. So I had to, I felt bad that I was missing like soccer games and all that because I was on the road a lot. So met Scott Shaffer. We hit it off really well. And my current role is business development. So I work with all the FDCs, also work with all the salesmen on any new builds, any existing builds, refreshes, all of those things game room wise. So Shaffer's been around since 1929, and it's a full service distributor for all of the games the game room needs. So really right now I kind of work with all of the salespeople and all of our new builds and just trying to make sure that we're maximizing profits and getting the right game mix for them as they have a family entertainment center, or most importantly, even if they have an existing center, like what are they thinking about doing, or what are they going to add, and then really talk to the people in our marketplace and find out what a need is for somebody. So I really enjoy it because I just meet so many different people. I have so much fun with it. It's a fun business to be in. So so that's kind of where I'm at today. And we're based out of Columbus, Ohio, but we service throughout the whole United States. So right now I've currently got about 14 projects, and they go from California to Maine to Florida and everything in between. So it's really exciting.
Yeah, when I was asking for a guest from Shaffer, George Speakman said you were the FEC expert for Shaffer now. So
yeah, well, I appreciate that. I'll have to make sure that I get that from him as well. But the neat part about it is I come from a different experience. So for my standpoint, like I'm a food and beverage guy, so I look at food and beverage and I look at the other attractions. So when I'm talking to a facility, I think probably the last thing we talk about is actually games. Like I'm more like, how are you making your pizza? What kind of draft beers are you going to have? Like it is so just because I'm interested in what their process is. And then, people will ask me what my thoughts are and things like that. So while I am the expert in that, I love the entire business because you think about it, the business model of going to a restaurant and sitting down and eating for 45 minutes to an hour and then leaving, more people are trying to figure that out and trying to figure out what can I do to prolong a stay for somebody. So now you've got cinemas that are taking out movie theaters and they're throwing in an FEC. You've got existing bowling alleys that are taking that stuff out and they're taking more stuff out and taking lanes out to put it in. So it's really interesting just to see the kind of family entertainment center kind of morph into what it's really starting to become.
Yep. We share a background. I originated in restaurants and hospitality and all of that before switching over to attractions and entertainment. So,
Yep. It's a great, I loved it. I mean, it's every day is different. I mean, when I got a
mhm,
degree, I could have gone into hotels or I could have gone into restaurants. And I went into restaurants because I was like, well, if somebody enjoys their food, I want to see their face. Like in a hotel, if you have a good stay, they just leave, right?
yeah,
And so I always love that about the restaurant business. And now in the family entertainment business, it's so cool to see people walk in and walk and see their faces like, whoa, what did they build? Or, there's a local FEC here in Columbus. The food's made from scratch. So we'll go there for dinner. But then all of a sudden my kids will go, Dad, we want to go bowling. Well, we'll go bowling there, or we'll go play arcade or laser tag. So it's really just, now you have all of those other things to come back for in your job, not just one-sided per se.
got it. So as you were saying, you are the person that people a lot of times talk to in new builds or reframing existing builds when they're looking to design an arcade area. So what are some of those tough things an operator should really consider outside of just buying some games and putting them in a space?
So the first question we're going to ask out of our mouth is, what else are you doing? Like what else is that center going to have? So are you doing bowling? Are you doing laser tag? Do you want VR? Are you doing food and beverage? Do you have a patio? Are you doing, whatever those type things are? Because what really happens is you want to set the space for all of those and then kind of fill the arcade in. Like in the arcade, we need wall space for some of the gigantic games. But if you're doing laser tag per se, well, guess what? The laser tag entrance is probably going to be on a wall that you have to go through the arcade to get there. So what does that look like? So we really ask about the other attractions that you're going to have and really be mindful of that with our customers and saying, okay, what makes sense for you may not make sense for somebody else, but what does your space look like? What does it feel like? And then we're going to start talking about, okay, what is your ceiling heights? Because the biggest game is 22 feet. The crane game is going to be 8 feet. Like,
Isn't it crazy how games have grown?
And they're not getting smaller, they're getting bigger. So so with that, we just want to make sure that we're understanding what the use of the space is for everybody. And, we're going to pick games. We're going to pick the top earners. We have reports that we know what's going to earn for somebody, and then, we go, okay, what's your clientele like? Like, what are you trying to do? We did a set a couple months ago in the Charlotte, North Carolina market. And the guys like Adam, we're 21 and older at 8 o'clock. So we want more adult themed games. And so we went in with more drivers, Pac-Man, Space Invaders, maybe nothing ticket related, which in a normal FEC, a ticket ring is going to be your number one game. So really mindful of what that is. And once we know your space, the ceiling heights, what that area is going to look like in your clientele, then we can start backfilling what we think the games are going to be.
Interesting. I know when we were talking ahead of time, you talked also about like sight lines. And so it reminded me of casinos, because if you read about casino design, they will talk a lot about sight lines and what you
Yep.
can see and feel when you walk in. So for those who may not be knowledgeable in that, explain what do you mean by looking at the sight lines?
So think about a grocery store. When you walk into a grocery store, you walk right in, and what do you see? Your apples, your oranges, your potatoes, all of the things are kind of low level, right? So by the way, I talk with my hands, so you can't see that, so it's kind of funny. So you're looking straight across, and then what you see is like the salad mix, and then you see the organic section because it's drawing your eyes back there. So when we talk about sight lines, what we want to do is we might want to take two cranes and put them back to back. Why? Because there's glass on either side and you can see through them. Put a low game in there, a game that's smaller in height that you can see over to that. And then what we do is we have a carnival row. It's your big back wall that's going to have your basketballs, your down the clowns, your big baskets. And that's where we want your eyes to be able to go. So my whole rule of thumb that I've always taught people is when you walk into a facility, you should see 90% of what that facility has. And then you take 5 more steps in, you should see that remaining percentage of that in there. And that's the same thing when you look at a game room, is that you're going to have little Johnny wants to play this game over here to get tickets, but then all of a sudden you got the older kids that want to go back and play basketball, and they see that on the back wall. So we really are very cognizant about doing that. And I'll do a layout for our team, and our team will send me a face message, and we're on the phone and they're doing the install. I'm like, that just doesn't look right. Why? Because there's a pillar in the middle of the room that I had no clue was there. That surprised me, right? Or there's a fire strobe somewhere. So we really are just very intentional on making sure that we're looking at those things, making sure that the people understand that, and that we kind of move things around on that as well. And the one thing is if your room can hold 40 games, we might only go in with 36. And because we don't know how that room's going to shake out, well, now all of a sudden we know that, hey, you could fit 4, but really it's only 2. Now in a couple months, you could reinvest in 2 more games and bring them in. So we really look at that when we're trying to set a room for somebody and our customers, just to make sure at the end of the day that they understand that we want you to see 90% of your room from your front door. And then the remaining 10%, we want to be able to see as you walk through and kind of navigate through the arcade.
Awesome. I love this because I think there's a science behind everything we do. And, it's not just build it and they will come. There are all of these, ways of building it in the right way so you can capitalize on what you're investing in by bringing this in. Now, you said the number one question you asked is, what else are you doing? Is there a different mentality if I have a whole lot of attractions versus arcade is going to be one of my primary? Maybe I have arcade and axe throwing. So it's like a 50% primary attraction versus just one of 5.
There is, and because what we want to do is try to figure out. So if you're just doing like an axe throwing in an arcade, our game mix is going to be slightly different because the clientele that's going to be there. Whereas if you're doing, let's say, laser tag, you're doing esports, you're doing an arcade, you're doing bowling, and then you've got something else that's going on. What we want to do is just really, truly, it goes back to who do you want your clientele to be. So if you've got 5 attractions, we know that you're prolonged time, because what's going to happen is you're going to set up your events in the way that they're going to be able to do everything, right? So let's say your main feature is bowling. So for a kid that's getting a birthday party, the easiest thing for a group salesperson to do is say, would you like to add on a $10 game card for $5? Would you like to add on a mission of laser tag? Normally it's $7, but you can get it for the birthday party for $3. And what that does is that now takes that hour-and-a-half birthday party on the lane, a half hour in the room eating the pizzas and doing the presents or the cake or whatever it is. Well, that party would be done in 2 hours. Now you've prolonged them to go and do the arcade, prolonged them to go do the laser tag. And so what that does is that just prolongs the stay for a guest, and it just makes it more beneficial that, hey, guess what? We have 5 different attractions and we only hit 3 of them today. Well, let's come back and try to do the other 2 another day. We talk about the Columbus market in particular. There are 4 giant FECs in our area that we could get in a highway and we could drive to. One has outdoor volleyball. One has bowling, outdoor volleyball, arcade, good food and beverage, right? Another one is 235,000 square feet, and it has a roller coaster, a drop zone, go-karts, 18 holes of mini golf, 225 video games, a soft play area, and there's a bunch more, but I'm forgetting them. And then there's an FEC that has bowling, laser tag, and arcade. And then there's another one that has a dark ride. I think they got a Hologate now, video games, and bowling. So all of them have something different to be able to offer. So like when we're going to go pick something out, my son wants to go indoor mini golfing. We go to the one that has indoor mini golfing. Now, we don't really play all the games there because he has another arcade that he likes to go to play games. And then he has a different place that he likes to go laser tag. And then I like to go to a certain place to go bowling. So at the end of the day, you've got a family of 4, and that family of 4 is all over the boards on all of those places. So it just gives you more opportunities for things to be able to have within your facility.
Will you clarify, because I think it's grown since I started in this industry, the different categories of games? Like there's always video and redemption, but it's still beyond that now. Yeah. It's not just those 2.
So you're correct. So the redemption games are the ones that give out tickets. And so Dave & Buster's made this famous 10, 15 years ago, and then they realized that there was an expense for that. And what I mean is that if you remember Dave & Buster's commercials, do you have those people, oh, look at all the tickets I won? Well, now the tickets are an expense. You have to fill the machine with a person that's going to cost you $16 to $20 an hour, and they get jammed. So now everybody's going to e-tickets. So you swipe your card, the tickets automatically go right onto the game. So those are the games that a lot of people will play for whatever prizes that is in the redemption. And talk about redemption, you should definitely have stuff for adults. You should definitely have stuff for girls, definitely have stuff for boys, because guess what? When I ran a family entertainment center, we literally would go to our beer vendors and we would say, hey, what beer stuff do you have for free? We would put it up in the redemption, and people are like, whoa, I want that Yingling, whatever it is, beer sign. Well, guess what? It's 10,000 tickets. It didn't cost me anything, but I used it for my beer vendor, right? So little trick there. I'm not telling everybody.
Client in Ohio play at the works on in Cuyahoga Falls. They
Mhm.
started, they have a lot of live events and stuff, which means they have a more adult clientele a lot of the times. So they started putting adult themed items in their redemption, and it has paid off dividends for them. So
And it's absolutely amazing because, you know, my kids have these 2 cards for the local place and they're building up their points. And my son wants this Star Wars Lego set. And I'm like, you realize your birthday is coming up and I can just buy it for you. But no, it's that thought of it. So the first one's redemption. So redemption, you get those tickets go onto a card, and then they save up for them. There's different categories within the redemption realm. You know, somebody's just got to spend it right now. You get 100 tickets, you got to spend it to go get candy, right? The next one's video games. So your video games are games that are going to be a little bit longer in gameplay. So think of like a Jurassic Park. It's about a 2 to 3 minute gameplay. Driving games about 2 to 3 minutes. So those are a little longer lasting games. If you've got a game room of 20 games and under, you're probably going to have 16 redemption games, 1 or 2 video games, and the rest are going to be cranes. As you start getting up in the sets, that's where you start putting more of these longer play games in. And the reason why video games are important is because it creates the length of stay. If you walk up the big bass wheel and swipe your card and you pull the handle down, within 40 seconds, you're done. You just spent the $1. Where if you go to Cruising Blast, now you're on there for 3 minutes, or Fast and the Furious, or some of these new ones that are coming out. Now you're on there for 3 minutes. Now all of a sudden you've created the length of stay within your arcade. And then there's the ticket games, and they're, you know, it depends on who you talk to them. Some people say the crane games. I say the redemption games because they'll give out a ticket ring, a ticket bundle, anything like that. So they'll swipe their card, the claw will reach down, grab out a ticket ring, and those games are hugely popular. And then you have crane games, which are, there's 2 types of cranes. There's ones that have like stuffed animals. I call that the stuffed animal that goes to the dog chew toy as soon as you get home. So you spend $1, you get a chew toy for the dog, right? But there's also ones like instant gratification. So like a crane game that has candy or a duck in it, those are a winner every time. They're walking away with something. They have that to be able to go home.
would you consider like Keymasters crane, like they're self-merchandisers, or is that a whole different category?
Yeah, exactly. So on the cranes, there's also self-merchandisers. So as you mentioned, Keymaster, you get an egg. If there's a key in the egg, you open up what that bin is and you get whatever's out of that bin. They've got a couple ones like that. They just came out with a couple new ones. And then the ones that are widely popular right now seems to be the cut to wins. This is where you got a big giant teddy bear in it. But we've had places that get 2, 3 of them. And it's nice because what they'll do is a giant teddy bear in one, and then they've got this giant ticket thing that says 10,000 tickets. And so they've made it up at their local print shop. They put it in the game. For the FEC that was kind of more focused on adults, in their crane, they have a Kate Spade purse in one of them. And in the other one, they have a tool set from Lowe's, like a 50-piece tool set from Lowe's in there. So that's the target that you went off. The good part about that game is, yeah, for a big giant stuffed animal, it costs you $40. Probably going to make $200 to $300 off the machine before it pays out. That giant stuffed animals cost you $40. So you're paying maybe $2 to $250 a play. You go to the giant ticket, maybe it's $3 to $350. You go to the Kate Spade purse, you're going up to like $550 for that, because it's, pretty expensive purse that's in this cage. So, you merchandise those the right way. You also price those the right way. And then the last type of game out there is the video game of VR. So 2 types of VR. One is unmanned, which means I walk up to the game, we swipe the card, we put our headsets on, we go, and we're actively in the game. Boom, easy peasy. 5-minute game, you're probably getting anywhere between $4 to $5 for those. And on the flip side of it is something that's manned. And what that means is that you're tethered or untethered into an arena. Somebody has to let you into the game. They have to man that game, and they watch you throughout the game to make sure that you're doing the game well, you're not being rough or anything like that. Coming out of COVID, the manned VR was really popular because we were cleaning the headsets. Now it seems to be swinging towards the unmanned VR because I don't have to attend it with somebody. I can just let that game sit there. So you've got people that are doing that. But the other VR that's manned becomes an attraction in your arcade. So that's really key for people to have, is that attraction that they have besides the arcade. I've got the arcade and I've got a dark ride. I got the arcade and I've got Vex. I got the dark ride and I got Omni Arena, whatever that happens to be. So it really is a neat option for people if they have the room for it.
Now the $1 million question, is there a perfect product mix?
So when you talk about VR, you gotta lump it in with video games
Video?
because
Okay.
it's really the same. So if you're doing a room, we usually say about 65-70% of your games should be redemption based. And then from there, about 15% to 20% is going to be video. And that includes your VR as well. So you kind of lump that in there because you're not getting anything for it. And then you look at your crane games or your last ones that are going to be at that 15 to 20%, depending on how the other mix kind of rolls out for you.
And in cranes, you are including all types of self-merchandisers in that mix, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So if you look at like a 50 game set, you're going to probably look at maybe 34 to 36 games being redemption, probably looking at 6 to 8 games on the video side. And then you'll probably look at maybe 2 to 3 cranes, a ticket ring, ticket time, a cut to win, and maybe a find a key to kind of fill those out. But I classify the ticket games under redemption. So it depends on who you ask that question to, but usually it's the 65-70 and the 15 to 20 is usually the sweet spot.
I think I agree with you. If you're giving me something that gives me tickets, that's a redemption game. But if you're giving me like ducks or stuffed animals or things, then that's a self-merchandiser. So
you're exactly right. And there's a new piece from Eunice that we saw at Amusement Expo, and it was Over the Edge, and it's a pusher within a crane game. So they are just starting to get them out. So we're going to be interested to see like what that return on it is. But it's smaller prizes that cost a little bit more, and it becomes a pusher in a crane game. It's really unique.
And pushers are typically redemption, right?
That is correct. So,
okay.
Yeah, so you're looking at the Avengers, the SpongeBob Bikini Bottom, Willy Wonka, Wizard of Oz. Those are going to be your pushers. And with those, the best thing to do is put a bar stool and a table next to it, because what happens is you'll find mom will sit down and swipe her card and put her wine next to the game while she's playing Avengers or Willy Wonka or Wizard of Oz, and she'll sit there and burn up Johnny's little card before you even know it.
All right. I think that this question is interesting because I think times have changed, because I feel arcade is evolving really fast in the past couple of years. So how consistently should somebody be choosing to reinvest in their arcade? Like, what's those levers that they look at?
So out of the whole FEC, when I say 10%, don't say 10% of your overall business. It's 10% of what your arcade did. Okay. So the easiest thing is if you did $100,000 in your arcade, we'll do the math, 10%, that's what I'm going to reinvest. Now with that, as I mentioned earlier, I won't set your room to the 40 games that you should have. I'm going to set your games at like 36. And the reason why I say that is we want to see what your crowd's doing. Like if I say, here's a perfect mix, and all of a sudden you're like, I don't think drivers are going to do well. And all of a sudden your drivers are going off the charts. Well, guess what? Now you can add 2 more drivers. You have the room and you can just do that reinvestment 3 months in. It's always a success story. It's always a good plug for you to be able to say, come check out this new game, right? We had a lady that put in a cut to win, and within 5 weeks, she had paid her investment off, and her social media person, every time somebody won, they put the picture up online and they said, here's what this person won. And now the picture of the game empty, and it just drew what she wanted. And it created that buzz. So you say 10% of your room. So what we usually look at is 5% of it's going to be a trade-in value, and 5% is going to actually be like kind of cash overlay. So what we do is we take your game mix and we look at your games and see what's doing well and what's not doing well. And let's take your dogs, which are the ones that aren't doing well, and let's take those and turn those in. And then let's turn around and get you something that we look at your report and we see what your report's saying and get you something. So in that case in point, we gave her the cut to win. Well, she hadn't updated her room, and I was like, well, why don't you try an Avengers pusher? And she's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, Avengers should be in the top 5 of your room. Go and bold and behold, she puts it in. Avengers in the top 5 of her room. She's happy with her investment. And all she did was she ended up trading out a game called Let's Bounce. And so she traded out of Let's Bounce because it wasn't performing the way that she wanted. She added Avengers, really happy with that investment. So we just look at what that is. And like I said, the rule that we go with is about 10%.
Got it. How often is Shaffer talking to their different arcade clients out there? Like, do you guys do monthly checks? Do you guys do quarterly checks? Are you waiting for people to call you in? How does that work?
Yeah, so we have after our opening install, we have a checklist that goes to the account managers. And so we have to do a 90-day health check on. And it's not that we're not waiting till 90 days, we're calling 30, 60. But what we do is we get a good shakedown of the room. We take the report, and we love to look at reports. We don't share data of anybody. I don't say, well, this person is doing this. I can say a like-minded facility, but we don't share that data. But what we do look at is we do look at what the payout percentage is. And we know what a game should be producing in a room. So for our goal is if that game's not producing, well, let's move it to the front of the room. Let's move something to the back. Let's move your room around as much as we can. And see what that will do for that. Like I said, we have owners that are they buy the game, we're good at them, don't have to call us. We have owners that we'll constantly stay in contact with, that'll constantly send our reports to us. And then, one of the big goals for 2022 is to get out of, or 23, I mean 23 or 22.
You're behind.
I'm a year behind, but one of the big goals is for all of us to get out of our office more and go see customers. So now what we're doing is we're planning week-long trips. So we might go to the Missouri market, and we're flying in on a Monday, and we're seeing, it may not just be my customers, it might be one of the other salesmen's customers, but we're saying, I'm going to the Missouri market, who should I go see? And so we're making sure that we're stopping in and seeing them, making sure we really have face with them. But again, it's a lot of our stuff that we do to be done off of Teams. Really, and like I said, that opening checklist that we have is really crucial for us to make sure that we're following up with the customers on what their need is, because these games are just like a car. You got to give them an oil change. You got to change the tires. Our games are exactly the same way. And we've got a couple openings that have not gone smoothly because of the game showed up with a broken part. And so we got to get the part, we got to get it installed. And so all of those things, and it happens to all of us. And, we just want to make sure that we're on it. But the sales team that we've got here is they are super aggressive, but most importantly, our customers become our friends. So you hold us accountable, we hold you accountable. And it's really nice to have that relationship with all of our folks.
Awesome. I'm going to throw a fun question at you. You just came from Amusement Expo, right? You went?
Yep.
So what are the top games that are interesting to you right now? Do you have some that are really cool looking for you?
Yeah. So coming out of Amusement Expo, it's, it depends on what the people are looking for. So redemption games, Sega showed it twice. The container is on the water. Bop It played well. Kids know it because it's a game that they can buy, at Target or Walmart, and it's a smaller game. So that got a lot of buzz. The game Over the Top or on the Over the Edge from Eunice got some buzz. Break the Plate still becoming popular. Carnival Wheel still becoming popular. Let's see, there was Fast and the Furious, which is a simulator from Raw Thrills. It's huge. It looks great. But a couple of the other drivers, Asphalt got more attention and Need for Speed. So we came out of IAPA saying it was the year of the driver, because we've always been selling Cruising Blast and super bikes. Nitro Trucks came on a little bit ago, but this year it seems to have more racing games that are involved. So it kind of opens the pool up for us to have more games like that. And then you came out of Dodgeball, which is a fun game to play. So think of Down the Clown, but with a bigger ball, and you're actually hitting people, not real people, but the animated people. So that was fun. And then they just launched Shipwrecked, which they've shown a few times at Amusement 360 and IAPA. That's actually coming out, and it's a fun game to play. Again, your VRs are popular. So you've got the VAR boxes that are out there. You've got the Vexes that are out there, VR Rabbits.
I've also noticed VR take a trend towards younger clientele with the Spree Interactive and some other ones. You're seeing more of those come out on the field too.
Yeah, and then Endemiro came out with a SpongeBob VR. So you're seeing that move. So there was a lot of buzz. I mean, again, there's some of the games that we've seen for years that have not come out yet, but they'll be out there at some point. But really, the buzz was off of those first couple that I mentioned.
Awesome. Just thought I'd ask since you just came from there.
Yep.
All right, we have a signature question that we ask every guest that comes on Think Tank Thursday.
Okay.
So what are you doing on a consistent basis to grow yourself? Trainer-tainment is all about growing people. So,
for me, it's difficult because when you get in the quality of in life and travel, it's like, what do you do? It's like, I've got two kids. Two kids are in sports. I'm not getting home till 8:30 at 9 o'clock at night. But what I've really done is intentionally, we've got some family members that a family member of ours has written 2 books. And those have kept me based when I go on the road or I'm on an airplane. I don't I don't plug in the movie. I open up the book and I'll read the book. And they're parenting books. So I mean, I'm going to learn. I've got a daughter that's 10 that's going on 16 already. So for me, what I try to do is grow. Is I just want to like take time, but most importantly, my relationships matter with people. And so we just went out to lunch today with somebody in the bowling business that I've known since 2006. And we went out to lunch and I introduced him to our entire team. And he's known me, but he hasn't known our entire team. So for me, it's all about taking time for myself, kind of just taking a little, and then I do like to be on the road because it gives me that time. But most importantly, it's really just about building relationships with people and just that intentionality where, I feel that I can call people in our industry and say, how are you doing? And not even talk shop with them, but just really just, how are things going for you? What are you doing? That the relationships really matter to me.
I love that. It's about connection. Well, thank you, Adam, for your time today. I'm sure people want to know, where can people find you if they want to connect with you or if they want to learn more about Shaffer? Where would you send them?
Easiest thing is to go to the website, shafferdistributing.com. You go to that website, you'll be able to manage our tabs. There's a sales tab that you can email. Just say, Adam, you did such an unbelievable job. If you have a question or anything, it goes to our sales folder and then that depiculates down. I'm usually at every conference, so I'll be at Amusement 360 next week. Then we've got what, Bowl Expo coming up in June. Yeah. So I'm usually at all of those. So I'm usually the guy that's always in the booth. So happy to meet you, say hi to you. But yeah, the Shaffer Distributing is the easiest place to go for someone to try to get a hold of me. Or I'll give you my cell. It's 216-407-7179. That's the easiest thing to do. It's on me all the time. So feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. But I always encourage people to, obviously with Trainertainment, there's Amusement 360, FEC Success. There's IAPA that you've got all of those educational classes. At Bowl Expo, there's educational classes, and I was actually part of Amusement Expo's educational classes this time. So I'm usually around at all of those. So happy to meet anybody.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for your time today.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Didn't you guys learn so much from that conversation with Adam? It was great. There's been such a innovation in the game rooms over the past couple of years that it's nice to know what those percentages of product mixes are, how much we should be reinvesting, what are those levers that we should be looking at when it's time to reinvest. All of that was such great information. So thank you again to Adam and Shaffer Distributing for spending time with us and sharing their knowledge with us. But more importantly, thank you to each and every one of you for choosing to spend time watching this episode. I come here every week so that I can help grow you guys and your businesses to be the best that they can be. Again, give some love to my 2023 ThinkTank sponsors. Without them, we wouldn't be here. So love that. And if you have an idea for ThinkTank, if you want to be a guest on ThinkTank, or if any of you would like to sponsor ThinkTank, you can email me at candy@trainertainment.net. I'll be happy to get you scheduled for any of those above. And that's all. So I hope you guys have a great, productive week, and I'll catch you on the next episode.
Introducing Mobile Wallet, the next gen in cashless fueled by Embed. Your virtual game card is added to the mobile wallet with no app download required. Just scan the QR code, then create your account in the mobile portal. Guests can do a quick reload of their game cards anytime, anywhere without leaving the game. They can also skip the kiosk and cashier lines, and there's no need for a balance check machine. With advanced security and encrypted tech, Embed's mobile wallet is the only FEC business solution compliant and approved by both Google and Apple.